y'all, welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and an album flip through. Now this is our album from our Ohio, Michigan trip in May of 2024. And I'm just going to warn you now, this is super long. You probably saw as the video began the stack of pages. And I bought one album anticipating this would be one album because I was going to cut out so many pictures and only use the basics, and I had great intentions, but this is actually going to be 3 different albums. So I'm going to show you where I ended up splitting it after I got all those pages done. Now, as I flip through, I want you to be aware that there are lots of places for peekaboo pockets and still a lot of areas that need journaling, but I'll do all of that when I get ready to add page protectors. But I just couldn't put page protectors on before I show it to you on camera. So this is a title page that I created from the sketchbook. And right off the bat, we've got a couple of peekaboo pockets that are going here. You're going to recognize so many of these designs, either from Creative Memories Virtual Crops or from some of our sketchbook designs. But you see peekaboo pockets everywhere already. More and more and more. I'm really pleased with this. I used a lot of different paper packs, a lot of different designs, a lot of different layouts, but I really like the look of it. Some pages are a little busier than others. I'm sure you remember this one from one of our sketches. I did add an 8.5 by 11 sleeve in here so I could add the book that we got at the Capitol building. And I even used the back side of that to add some more pictures on there so I didn't have to keep going with that Capitol theme. The peekaboo pockets are also going to make this book a lot thicker. And that was one of the reasons I realized I was going to have to cut it way down. I was going to have to make this album into multiples because of the peekaboo pockets. But there were just so many great things we saw. I just couldn't leave a lot of them out. These will be stacked and layered in various places here. I ran out of peekaboo pockets at one point in time, but boy, there's going to be a stack of them here and here. That was a really easy layout. Just look at all those stripes. I think that was a virtual crop. This is when the Full of Wonder collection came out. Can you tell? And the Holland Scenes papers came out right at the right time. I did include a postcard, and again, that will be in a peekaboo pocket. Several peekaboo pockets over here. We visited lots of lighthouses, so I included the brochures for those, and my page protector will slide right over that so you can still open the front cover of that brochure. If you were following along in the sketchbook, you saw lots of these circular designs. Boy, I got kind of tired of making circles. More peekaboo pockets. I do love to include little stickers, like when you go into museums, they usually give you some kind of little sticker to show that you've paid. I love including memorabilia. I love including stickers. Anything that just makes me remember that day. These are all in the lower part of Michigan. Well, part of it in the beginning was Ohio, but these are all in the lower part of Michigan. So let me grab the next section, which is going to start our trip to the UP. And before I even knew that this was going to break into several albums, this was a page that I had designed, and this was our first night in the UP. But I felt like it's a great first page for that second album. Now, we'll do something on here to say First Night in the UP or something like that to start that album off. But then everything else in this album will be all about the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Again, I like to use maps on there, postcards. Anything that just gives it a more scrapbooky feel to me. I like to use tickets. As I'm glancing through here, it's funny. Some of these pages, when I did them, I thought, I don't really like that page very much. But as I'm looking through, I'm not really thinking about, oh, I hated that page, or I didn't really like that at all. I'm looking at my pictures and I'm thinking, wow, look at all these pictures in this book. Now, are my kids going to love all of these albums? No. They might like the pictures that have us in them here and there. They're not going to be interested in all these extra details, all the extra places we went. That's okay, because for me, it's my joy to look back at them and see the places we've been and the things we've done. So you have to decide why you scrapbook. If you're scrapbooking just for your kids, you wouldn't include all these scenery pictures because they're not going to care. If you scrapbook for yourself, you're probably going to include them because you remember the feelings that went along with being in these places. Obviously, I still intend to do a title right there. I even included one of our bracelets from this particular museum. And I did throw this in. This is basically that. Basically the same pictures. I kept it just in case I decided to go back and use it at some point in time. I don't think I will. I think I'll use my regular photos instead. Sometimes I just have to get finished before I go back and decide if I'm going to keep something or not. This was one of my favorite pages, I think really just for the pictures. And then I love all of these from Pictured Rocks. That was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. These papers came from a secret box. So if you're not getting the secret boxes, sometimes you're really missing out. This was from the Birds and Blossoms paper pack. But then back to the secret box papers. And they were perfect for this particular trip. Such a beautiful place. More circles. I've probably used more circles lately than I have in my whole scrapbooking career because the sketchbook has shown so many circles lately. This was one of the Creative Memories virtual crop sketches, or Sizzling Summer. That was a Sizzling Summer sketch. This one I just did on camera recently, and you can see it's kind of in the middle of my whole thing. I don't always scrapbook in order. I pull the pictures that I want to scrapbook at that particular point in time and do them and then slide them into the right spot. I cut this out of a brochure, and again, postcards. I love postcards. They give me the very best picture and they have the title on it. All right, so that ends book number 2, which was the UP. So let's go to book number 3. So in album number 3, we were just heading back to the lower peninsula of Michigan, and we took a picture of the Mackinac Bridge right before we crossed it. So I felt like that was a great place to split this album. I do still have some peekaboo pockets to add. I had a receipt here too that they stamped at that lighthouse, and I just found it, so I'm going to have to add that in somewhere. But use some of that Michigan Scenes paper that I had been hoarding for a long time. Still need to title this one. And you can see we saw so many lighthouses, and that was what was really fun to me. Besides Pictured Rocks, which was my favorite. I don't do tons of journaling. I do have some journaling on my cell phone that I will print out and add here and there, but I just don't do tons of journaling. For starters, I don't think my kids will necessarily read it. Will I remember it down the road? Probably not, but I just love the pictures. Now, in my personal family albums, I do a lot more journaling because I want them to remember the moments. I want them to remember why we did the things that we did and the fun things. But in our travel albums, I don't always feel the need to journal quite as much. And I do add a lot of brochures, so I feel like that kind of takes the place of journaling sometimes. These pages I did a long, long time ago, which is funny because now they've ended up being the very back of the last album. But I told you I don't scrapbook in order. Depends on what nicks my fancy at that point in time. What I decide is my mood for the day. It's a really happy page using the Adventure Parks paper. My style tends more towards muted colors. Again, I had a ticket here which shows the date and time. Love those kinds of things. Here was something a little bit different. This is a happy album pocket. It has the horizontal places for pictures, and I was able to cut down and add some extra pictures into this using that horizontal happy album page. And the staples work in just the right spot, so that can add in. I also had this big brochure they gave us, and I'm probably just going to stick it in the very back of the album when I put the album together, just to keep that. This was a really fun place, though, the butterfly house. Another lighthouse and the lake. Another lighthouse. Some of these ideas you'll see from some online classes I took during the summer. I was able to complete almost 200 pages this summer using some online challenges to guide me. So I got a lot of things done. And then I needed a back page, and I just had some odds and ends. We eat Mexican food when we travel almost all the time. And flowers and IKEA. I convinced my husband to go to IKEA with me. So those are my 3 albums from our trip to Ohio and Michigan. I hope you've enjoyed those. I hope you saw some things you liked in those, some things that will encourage you in your own album making to add something you've never done before. Remember to try more in 24. We're getting to the end of the year. We're going to have to come up with a new slogan. But until I see you next time, happy scrapping.